It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woo-hooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry. We were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hi, I'm Sam Bird and you are listening to Centre Pass, the brand new podcast from London Pulse, produced with anything but footy. I'm the CEO and the head coach at London Pulse, and we are London's only Vitality Netball Superleague side and play at the Copperbox Arena in Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, the home of the 2012 Olympics. London Pulse is more than a Superleague franchise, and in this podcast we will explain why and how. We're dedicated to connecting with our communities in London, those who play, watch and enjoy netball. Shortly, we will find out about our partnership with the charity Metro BlindSport and how we're working together to bring netball to blind and visually impaired athletes in London.
What we want to do is to establish this as potentially as a sport. So it's great that London Pulse are at the forefront of that.
But before we hear from Metro BlindSport CEO Martin Simcox, let's find out about how we are safeguarding the future of our sport in the capital. London Pulse has the opportunity for finding, inspiring and developing the next generation of leading netballers. We provide the performance pathway to London and the surrounding areas, but the global pandemic also highlighted our wider role in sport in general. Dannii Titmuss is our head of pathway, in charge of developing our young people, and she has been speaking about her role and responsibilities to one of the players in our junior teams.
Hi, I'm Emily Ansted and I'm part of the Under-19 long squad for London Pulse Netball. I'm here today to ask Dannii Titmuss some questions about London Pulse as a whole and get some insight information on the club.
My main job is performance-based, and that incorporates the under-21s, under-19s, under-17, under-15s performance squad. But that also oversees our hub programme, which, we have 12 hubs. And then within that, as well as the athletes, it's also looking at the support staff. So the hub coaches or the NPL coaches, engaging with our sports science medical team. So our physios, S&C coach, the performance analysis, all the team managers, just everyone doing their bit to make you guys the best netball players that you can possibly be and to have our teams be the best teams.
You mentioned about the pathways and about the under-17s, 19s and 21s. So how do young people get selected for that pathway?
We have what's called our entry point, which is an open trial, which normally happens in September time. That's for anyone and everyone who's ever heard of netball, or even if they haven't heard of netball, you come to this big trial. So we do that in two ways now. It came to fruition from being in lockdown last year, and we weren't sure whether or not we would be able to trial in person, but we knew that we still wanted to be able to set up hubs and performance groups. So we were looking at different ways in which we could trial into those groups. So we had a virtual trial, attacking skills, defending skills, shooting skills, S&C skills, and ball skills. If we hadn't been able to go to physical trial, we would have used that as the pure selection criteria. Fortunately, we were able to go to the physical trial. And then on that first day is everybody. The way we did it last year and the way that we will do it this year is that athletes got grouped into sort of 20 people. They were put on a court with 3 selectors who are also coaches, and we ran the same session across all 5 courts, and it was just repeated. But it meant that, again, those 3 coaches, selectors, could work with that group of 20, and it was a 90-minute session, so no one got missed. We had real evidence to support why we were or weren't selecting these athletes. And from a selector point of view, we just felt we were making really informed decisions about the people we were or weren't selecting. The second day, we invite athletes into the NPL trials. We had to make more sort of snap judgments to be like, right, well, I'm going to back this athlete because she's played really well on this court. And we actually ended up over-selecting because we felt that was the fairest way to be like, right, well, we can't compare, so let's put them both in. Next year, what will be nice is it will be very, very similar, but we'll be able to mix people across courts and try out some different combinations and stuff. And then the other way which we select is that we have a really open and fluid trial system. So in actual fact, at any point in the season, athletes can come and join London Pulse. So we have a group of talent identifiers that will go out and they'll go to local tournaments or local leagues, just into London and the surrounding areas, and see what athletes we may have missed from this big open trial. When athletes are younger, people develop at different rates. So that's another way we select, and the coaches are still out. And then is our multi-sport program. They have 8 sessions and they do all different kind of sports, and we're linked with Sunrisers for cricket, we're linked with West Ham for football, Harlequins for rugby, and they get to experience, other sports. There's loads and loads of evidence that says athletes shouldn't early specialise. If you want to become the best netball player, you're best off just having a really big base of sports as a younger athlete and doing lots and lots of things rather than just netball. So we kind of put our money where our mouth was and was like, right, let's run this multi-sport program rather than make it just a pure netball program, because that's what we believed is the right thing to do.
I think it was really good this year doing all the extra videos because it allowed athletes to showcase different things that they may not have been able to necessarily in that hour trial or whatever it was, like footwork and stuff, which is really good. You kind of mentioned briefly about the multi-sport program. Could you expand a bit more on that?
How that sort of came to fruition was Sam Bird and I were at this, huge trial in September, and there were so many potentially talented younger athletes that we were like, look, do you know what? It's not right for them to be in a hub program right now. Some of the people that trialed were sort of years 8, year 7, year 9. You're like, it's not the right thing to be putting them into a hub. They're too young to be doing just netball, because if they're doing it with us, they're doing it with club, and you're sort of losing the ability to sample lots and lots of sports. Both Sam and I were like, it's really important that actually they are sampling lots of sports. However, we would love to have them with Impulse because they look like a real talented group of athletes. We're like, okay, well, what can we do to maybe incorporate them under the umbrella of London Pulse, but do what is right for them? And then we just had a conversation, and from that was born the multi-sport program. We reached out to high performance clubs with other sports, and we said, look, this is an idea we've had. Do you guys want to get on board? Are you interested in doing something like this? And, we had some really, really positive feedback off of those guys. So, those 8 sessions have run, and they have like a specialist, say rugby coach or cricket or basketball or athletics or whatever. But, someone from another sport is coming in and just giving these guys the opportunity to sample lots and lots of sports while still being part of the London Pulse family. We've really had so much positive feedback off of that. We will definitely keep it for next year. Something I am keen to do as well is to broaden that out so that actually we can have boys involved as well to become part of the London Pulse family as well.
I think that's a great idea, especially as like a multi-sport person myself. I think it's great, and not to encourage just sport channeling to one sport from such an early age. And obviously this year has been quite tough with COVID and everything's going on with personal issues and whatever. And how do you think London Pulse support the girls on and off the court?
Everybody has experienced it in a different way. It's kind of like we're all in the same storm, but we've all got different size boats. Something that we felt was really, really important. So it was, back in last March when it was like, right, no more netball, you can't train. We felt it was really, really important to keep contact with our members, so our athletes and our staff, because it was kind of a nuts time, and you want to feel like you're part of something bigger and you're not actually out there alone. And we wanted to make sure that we were still there for people, even if it couldn't be, right, let's meet on a Tuesday night and we'll do our training session. We were like, right, what can we do? We did online training, so we did still meet on a Tuesday night to do our training session. And we did that for all of our groups. So we had obviously our MPL was still meeting. Our hub coaches were fantastic, and whereas the program should have ended in April, those guys just kept going throughout, and it was just because we wanted to be this regular point of contact in what was quite a turbulent time for a lot of people. The Superleague, we met every single morning, whether that was to do some S&C or ball work or whatever. So the physical training we never stopped. Right, well, what else can we do? So it's great to have this online training, but how can we use this time more beneficially, or where can we really add value to these athletes? This is an opportunity for us. What can we do with it? Therefore, we created what we now call our Educate, Train and Inspire program. And that's pretty much a collection of online workshops that covers everything we believe helps you guys to become a better athlete. It's always those 1%ers. So we did workshops on performance analysis. It was amazing, actually, because we had sort of these specialists come in and do their bit on whatever it was. So, we had Jimmy, who's the lead performance analysis for the seniors, has done many workshops for Hub, for NPL athletes in terms of how to use performance analysis and how it helps aid performance. We've had performance lifestyle come in terms of like helping you guys schedule your time, or how to balance becoming a sort of student and a performance athlete. We've had Dr. Emma Ross, who was unbelievably fantastic, talk about periods and performance, and where we are in the sort of menstrual cycle and how that might affect how we train and stuff like that. We've had Dr. Hannah Potter talk about sleep and performance. We've had upwards of sort of 40 workshops. But again, it was just kind of using that time that we could to be like, where can we add value to you guys being netball players and still being a constant point of contact for support as well. And that was probably the biggest driver for us in that, is that we just didn't want to be like, good luck guys, see you in 12 months. It was like #here if you need.
I honestly could not fault Pulse once. It kept me going through lockdown, I'm not going to lie. My mum would be like, oh, do you want to come on a walk this morning? I'll be like, sorry, I'm making my smoothie bowl. Or something like that. And having that incentive, and even just seeing people on the Zoom call made everyone's day so much better. It kind of gave us something to do, to look forward to, whether it was in the evening or the morning. I remember the 7 a.m. meditation workshop one. I was in bed half asleep. But I think it's definitely a time we'll all look back on and laugh and just smile and be like, oh, I remember the time I was in the kitchen with my 3 brothers passing a balloon around because I couldn't draw a ball, or whatever it was, or they were having dinner and I couldn't hear the Zoom call and I was doing the wrong exercise or something. But I think it's a time we'll all look back on and we'll be thankful for, definitely. And it was really good. So the main point of Pulse, would you say it's to find the new Superleague players or developing athletes as people?
I think it's kind of all of that, really, isn't it? I don't think you necessarily get one without the other. So like if I lead the pathway, if you just look at the basic math, the amount of hubs we have and the amount of athletes that are in the NPL, not all of those players are going to go on to be Super League players. It's just not physically possible to have, if you have like a pyramid base of athletes. What I see is that actually we want to give people a really good experience of netball, and we want long-term commitment to the sport. So whether that is, some of you will go on to play for London Pulse Super League teams. Some of you go on to, represent nationally. As you've seen, we've got, the athletes that are now in the futures and Ali in the full-time roses. And, we definitely want almost like a conveyor belt of athletes to the top. 100%, of course we do. I would feel really proud if our athletes were still involved in some capacity in the game in another 10 years' time. So whether that's that they get involved in the officiating, or they get involved in coaching, or maybe you guys even go and play for other franchises, or you just you're at club and you love netball and you're running a social league. That's part of the journey. So it's about giving you guys a real love of netball, that you want to stay within the sport, and helping you become better people and better players along the way.
Yeah, I think that's definitely really important, is obviously pushing yourself to be a better athlete, but keeping the love for the sport as well is very important. So obviously London Pulse has lots of ups and downs, as everything does. Is there any lessons that it's taught you as a head of academy, as a person? Is there anything you take away from being London Pulse?
There is a lot to get done, and there's a lot of people, and you want to give everybody the best, even in terms of like with all our coaches. I want to make sure that actually this isn't just, what can they do for us, it's what can we do for you too. So when coaches come and work with us, it's not just about like, hey, here's the hub or here's the NPL group, good luck with that. It's like, how can we support you guys to be the best coaches that you can be? So we run like CPD workshops. Amanda Newton has been fantastic, and she gives up her time so often to give back to the club, and whether that's with the staff or with athletes, like she's just been an absolute inspiration. And then I also think having to be like compassionate to lots of people's different circumstances. I think one of the things that I love working about and living in London is the fabric of the city is so diverse. So whether that's, people's backgrounds in terms of like say, state school or independent school, or whether that's, ethnically diverse or, different religions. And even in terms of when I was having a conversation with our kit provider, so Flyhawk, I was saying, some of these athletes that play for us, they need to cover up like their arms or you have to be a little bit modest in how they dress. What can we do rather than like, just wear a top underneath your vest top or whatever? How can we help support those athletes? And therefore, we've now got long sleeve tops that the athletes can wear and leggings can be worn rather than shorts. So yeah, I guess being a bit more compassionate to everybody's individual needs is something that I've learned.
London Pulse is like one big family. It actually is. Coming back to kind of the pathways and the under-17s, would you say there's a big jump for athletes wanting to go from the hub and progress to the under-17s, 19s and 21s?
Between hub and 17s, no, because those under-17s athletes are also within the hub. All of our performance squads, so the 17s, 19s, 21s, they will train twice a week and the hubs train once a week. So the 17s train once as a group by themselves, and then once within their local hub. So no, that's not a big difference between 17s. And actually it means they get to go and play in the hub league, which is really cool because, the 17s, the only competition they have, the formal competition they have is a tournament at the end of July. It's an interesting year because, NPL in terms of 19s and 21s was classified as elite. So we were able to continue training for longer than the under 17s who were classed as community. So whilst in previous years I probably wouldn't have said the gap was that big, I think due to the nature of this year the gap has probably increased slightly, and it'll be interesting seeing what can we do to reduce that gap over the summer or in prep for next season. And then again, it's a bit of an interesting one. So there are overlapping players between the 19s and the 21s, and the same with like the 21s and the Super League. The opportunity for our under 21s who aren't NSL players to go and train with them hasn't been there this year. And therefore, again, there's a little bit of a gap. So it's like, okay, how can we reduce that? Or how can we minimise the impact of that gap? What else can we do? There are gaps, but it's not huge. They're fixable.
So obviously we have the Educate, Train and Inspire programme and we have the Multisports programme. But for London Pulse, are there any more plans for the future? For any other programmes or exciting things coming up that you're allowed to tell us?
Oh, there are many, many exciting things. I don't know what I can say and what I can't say.
Give us a teaser.
There are a few things in the pipeline that we are really excited about. It's to do with our hub program and basically just extending that and expanding that. One of the things we did is we ran a global international taster series. They were really successful. And off the back of that, that's a next step is expanding our hub program internationally. And how can we expand this program? How can we grow it a little bit more?
Thank you, Dannii, the head of London Pulse Academy, for coming and talking to us about it today and helping out with the podcast.
It was an absolute pleasure. It was lovely to talk to you too.
So exciting times for the future of the club, and thanks to Amelie and Dannii for sharing their conversation on Centre Pass, the brand new podcast from London Pulse. But listening to that, I hope you will now have a better understanding of how, in their words, we would love to discover the Super League stars of the future. But we also recognise our wider responsibility to our players and followers in instilling in them a love of the sport and the benefits it can bring, even if that is not at elite level. It is why at London Pulse we have teamed up with a number of relevant and important partners. John has been to meet one of them to find out how we are innovating in bringing the sport of netball to a brand new audience.
My name is Martin Simcox. I am the Chief Executive Officer of Metro BlindSport. Metro BlindSport is a small London charity that promotes sport and physical activity to people that are blind or partially sighted. Since 1973, Metro BlindSport has been creating sport and physical activity opportunities for blind and partially sighted people of all ages and sporting abilities who primarily, but not exclusively, live in Greater London. Since that time, I suppose fundraising for the opportunity to create and deliver a range of core activities which have included athletics, bowls, cricket, football, tennis, swimming, amongst many other different sports as well.
How many people has it helped? And is it a forgotten disability in some ways, blindness, do you think?
We've helped thousands of people to take part, and often somebody with a visual impairment can go unnoticed because it's not so obvious that people have some form of sight loss. And so we've been, I suppose, around to make sure that people do get the opportunity to take part in sport and physical activity. We engage qualified coaches that are trained to incorporate specialist equipment or small adaptations to sport, so that people that have either no sight or less sight really can enjoy meaningful participation and reap the many social, mental and physical benefits that we know that sport delivers.
I was going to ask, what exactly does sport bring to people?
Participation itself, I think, just being able to participate alongside others can mean so much. Blind and partially sighted people can be, but again, not exclusively, can be less confident, can be socially isolated. So we know that sport and or physical activity is almost a sort of a stepping stone to greater things. It means that people can meet like-minded people that have been to university or are married or have got a job. So it really can, I suppose, open people's horizons to different things to make sure that they do know that everything and anything can still be possible.
So you mentioned some of the sports that you have been doing over the past 40-odd years.
Yep.
Tell us about the new partnership with London Pulse.
Well, this is a really exciting partnership. This is a really exciting opportunity, something that we've never done before in terms of playing netball and learning the netball skills and helping blind and partially sighted people understand and learn more about the sport. So we're really excited to work with Sam and her team at London Pulse. And it's not just about taking part in the sport. It's clearly a very large part of it. But what Sam's offered as well is to try and help our members and perhaps more broadly people in London that are blind or partially sighted to be fans of the sport as well, to immerse themselves in the atmosphere that occurs when fans can get back to, or more fans, I suppose, can get back to consuming the sport and watching the sport. So they've invited our members to have free access to their games, to have sort of a backstage tour and meet the players, and also to help them create audio description. So when people do go along to the games, is that they can follow the sport by having audio described commentary whilst the game's going on. So it's a really exciting partnership. We can't wait to get going in terms of the physical sessions that we're going to be doing at Leighton at the school centre. We just really want loads of people to come along and take part and experience netball.
So much of that I want to talk to you about, so let's break it down. Firstly, I've covered netball. It is so fast from a commentary point of view, from an audio point of view. That's going to be a challenge.
Yes, and I think it is. And I suppose it's been a challenge in other sports, and that's where we've got to take the lessons from. So audio description is already in play in all of the Premier League football grounds, as well as other football grounds, some of the Premiership rugby grounds as well. But we've got to learn from those experiences to help describe the game. People's perceptions is that blind and partially sighted people might not be able to follow a sport, but many of our members are not only keen sports people and love playing, but love to consume the sport as well, whether they are blind or partially sighted. Our members, like everybody else, will go along to Lords to watch the cricket, or go along to football grounds, or follow activity on the TV. So again, I mentioned these few words earlier on. Everything and anything is possible. Just with the right adaptations and the right skill sets can mean that consuming sport can really be done quite well.
So then talk us about these sessions that you're going to be running. Can you describe maybe how one would pan out?
The sessions, I suppose, are breaking down those skills that would be used in netball. It's about passing and clearly catching and moving. But also, I think for the coaches and for the players, is a great opportunity to think about, well, perhaps how could the game be played in a real life match? Because we're not at that stage just at the moment. We're about using those skills, breaking down those skills that can then be used by blind and partially sighted people to eventually create or adapt the game so that netball can be meaningfully played. We've seen, again, over time, many different sports that have started out in a way in which we're going to be doing this with London Pulse as an idea about how can we change something, and to be really well attended sports. Tennis is a great example. 15 years ago, it was a demonstration sport. We've now had World Championships. We had the biggest calendar of events organised by the LTA in the year that was the pandemic year. So unfortunately, they didn't happen, but it just shows just how quickly things can grow. So we're looking to break down the skills. We're looking for blind and partially sighted people to help steer the sport. So hopefully we can get some more meaningful action, not just in London, but wider around the country in due course.
So the ambition is there to develop the sport. So London Pulse and yourselves are kind of the sky's the limit.
Absolutely. London Pulse have I suppose, have recognised that there isn't an opportunity to play blind or partially sighted netball at the moment in a meaningful way. It does occur in schools, especially in the specialist VI schools. But what we want to do is to establish this as a sport that can be played by many people around the country. So it's great that London Pulse are at the forefront of that happening in the capital. Hopefully, sort of the consuming element of it as well, we can get people really passionate about playing the game and developing it long term.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, Martin, is how important is a partnership like this with a club like Pulse?
It's crucial to growing a game. It's absolutely crucial that we have big sporting organisations supporting grassroots sports, but in particular, grassroots disability sport. You know, we can't do a number of the things that we do without support of partners. So to get a Superleague netball team to support some of the work that we're doing, to work in partnership with us, to develop their coaches, not only their coaches, but their volunteers that help on game days as well. We've had them with us to do VI awareness training, to put them through different scenarios about how to guide people and everything like that. So they really are going for it. They're certainly putting the weight behind what they wanted to achieve and to deliver something different, to work with different communities, and to bring more people to the game of netball. So it's great that we're working in partnership with them.
How can people get involved?
So people can get involved. They can go along to the Metro BlindSport website. That's metroblindsport.org. If they go onto our website, they can see the sign-up forms to join the programme. So at the Score Centre in Leighton on the Tuesday evening, we would love as many blind or partially sighted people, male and female, to come along, give it a go and work with us and be part of that, the new sport right from the very outset.
And finally, Martin, what would be your vision, if you like? So in a year's time, where would you see the partnership, the sport, the scheme? And maybe in 5 years' time, what would be the dream?
I think in a year's time, what we would like to see is that we've got regular sessions occurring in partnership with London Pulse, where we are doing regular training sessions, and we've really started to develop the game, and that rules are starting to be introduced. And it's something that we could then perhaps look to pilot with other Super League teams in different parts of the country. In 5 years' time, it would be great that there's a London Pulse / Metro BlindSport team that is competing in different parts of the country, very much like things occur at the moment with the Blind Cricket England-Wales cricket games and with the Partially Sighted Football League. So that would be the dream in 5 years' time.
I'm so excited to find out how those sessions go, and you can also hear about them on a future episode, as well as finding out about more of our fantastic work with our community partners. Thank you so much for listening to Centre Pass, the brand new podcast from London Pulse. Please download and follow to ensure you'll automatically hear our next episode coming soon.
Sports Social Podcast Network. With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.